very seldom say like, I felt ashamed. Will very seldom say like, I felt inadequate. I felt, no, it's just angry, you know, simple one. But I think men will tell very similar stories to, you know, to the ones that I found in your book, where I'll say to a man, a friend, what happened? Yeah, she was this and she was that, and it wasn't gonna, and I go like, okay, but what, I understand you, but what was the we? Right? Because every love story has to have a we. In the same,
yes, Trevor, but I'm just worried that we're sort of going into the both sides territory. I think that there's some relationships where one person is the asshole.
Oh, completely, yeah. That's completely true.
And that asshole may not acknowledge that they were the asshole, but it doesn't mean that they're not. I just feel as though reading this book that's about women's stories about men, I'm struck by how it's been out, I don't know, 2 weeks. I'm struck by how many people have said to me, what about the men? What about the men's story? Which is what Trevor is doing.
Whoa, and I think say that. We can rewind the tape. I didn't say that. I did not say that. Don't you dare get me.
You did. No. Don't get like that. You said how? No, you said how do the men? No, you said something about what?
I was asking you because remember you're the author. You're omnipotent. What I was asking you was if you chose to keep it opaque on purpose, so you didn't give us the answers about why that happened. The answer doesn't have to do with like the man's point of view, but it's the answer nonetheless. So many of the characters, they don't know why it happened. The person disappears, but they never get the closure. They never get the answer. They're left with this ghost that haunts them. And so what I was asking is like, if you did that on purpose, I don't want to know like, oh, but what was his version of it? I'm more intrigued by why you left us with characters that were sort of unresolved in the answer.
Turn your side, please.
That's what like I found like a hook. Does that make sense? And I think there's a difference between the two.
No, there isn't.
Oh, okay.
That was very cleverly done, but no, because anyway, it doesn't matter because it just struck me because I think that there is a kind of expectation we have, I think, that in reading that we, maybe even unconsciously, that we still look for the men, if that makes sense. I think if it were a book about men telling their stories, that I don't think as many people would have asked me, well, what did the women think? I would have. Not that.
Yeah, you definitely would have.
Well, we all know that you're different. Yeah. But anyway, so Trevor, what else do you want to know?
Go, boss.
I want to know everything. I would actually like to know as well, like,
Yeah,
you know,
and then I come over with Papa.
I think you were, other than
Like, I'm going to do food was here in the set in the buyer.
Just like the nitty-gritty of like ugly womanhood, if I call it that, you know? As ineloquently as unvarnished completely. And this book, in a really weird way for me, felt like an extension of the conversations I've had with Christiana. Like when we're talking about the inner workings of a woman's body and how it's quote-unquote betraying her in some ways, and how it's not doing what it's supposed to do for her. And then like even the frustration, you know, there's one line which I'll misquote, but it was essentially something to the effect of how, I forget which character was saying this, but they were basically saying there was almost like a resentment in the fact that their future and the dream and the life they were looking for was tied to men. They couldn't achieve that dream without the man being attached to them.
Yeah, and one of my favorite lines is the character basically says, when you marry a princess, even if you
Tapos yung lamuna.
Shooting logic, but it's the truth, because like, so me and my friend just said, I just got married for freedom from the question, from the judgment.
Oh, because your family leaves you alone, yeah.
Now you're in your husband's house, I'm not even going to complain about the things
Yes.
you do, because you're understanding his
Right.
And it's,
And often, yes, we know. But it's right? So you're in your husband's house. Nobody knows what you're doing. What sort of life you actually have. So for many women, it's a kind of, in a strange kind of way, in a perverse kind of way. Although we want to live in a world where a woman doesn't get to do that. But if we live in a society that imposes that kind of thing on you.
It would be nice to be in a society that doesn't impose that. Yes.
But that's the reality. Which is so unvarnished, because that's not necessarily a thing, even as direct.
Yeah, man.
It's what we say in a forum
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is not private. You know what I mean? It was just like, I felt like in moments you're in the inner sanctum, but the things women say to each other that they don't tell other people that I sometimes tell to
I felt like that about a lot of it, and I actually had that as a question as well. Was
I wake up and it's there. It's telling me to give up. I'll never give up. Slow man. Fight fatigue and energy loss all day, every day. Beat your slump. Slow man.
Secret phone trick I bet you didn't know. If your phone is full, don't buy extra storage. Open this. With just one click, it will analyze your storage, delete duplicate photos and contacts, and compress large videos. Don't buy extra storage. Download AI Cleaner for free now.
you know, it's strange when it's a novel. I feel like when it's nonfiction, it sort of has a very direct approach. With fiction, like most art, it's at the discretion of the artist. How much are they revealing to you and how much are they not? How much of the book are you intending as a direct commentary on society, and how much are you allowing to live in a complete fantasy? Like, are these rich Africans on purpose? Are they interacting with white liberals on and if, because I think you're very intentional, I'd love to know like the why, like what are you hoping to reveal to us through those things? Like, you know, it becomes so much more complex, but why do you choose it?
I don't know. I really don't know. This is the thing about writing fiction. I don't like the why questions.
Oh,
because there's a lot that's not. I am intentional. I hate that word about lectures and essays. Right? I can tell you what I had in mind for the danger of a single story, for example.
yeah.
But with fiction, it's different. So rich African, because it's true. I mean, of course, I'm interested in. So I think I write about things that I'm interested in, obviously. Right?
Okay.
So when you talk about academia, American academia, I'm interested in that. It's also a world I kind of know because I've spent time there. And so I can write about it with a kind of authority and authenticity, I think.
Yeah.
But it's also because I'm interested in all of the, the permutations of American academia. I think dream count, I don't like the why questions. I think you could say that dream count is, I think in some ways it's part satire, especially the bits that are about academia.
Okay.
Right? But I think as satire always does, there's truth there. Like I'm kind of holding up a slightly mocking mirror to certain things that happen. But I mean, there's also, obviously, I'm writing realism, and so it's kind of, you know, when you say people who read Dickens, and there's a sense in which you could say reading Dickens can give you a clearer sense of London at the time, clearer than reading history. Do you see,
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so I kind of like to think that that's what I'm doing with my fiction, which is I'm creating art, but there is of course also a kind of social and political component to it.
Yeah.
But I don't set out to, I like to think that my points are more blurred in my fiction. So in other words, if I had to write an essay about American academia, I think it would be very blunt.
We're going to continue this conversation right after this short break.
I'm interested because you kind of started this where we were talking about, you know, you don't look at the fame, you don't think about audience.
For fiction.
For fiction. Are there moments when you're writing fiction when you're like, that feels, I can't go there?
Never.
Never?
No.
So it's kind of, there's a fearlessness that comes with
Yeah.
the fiction.
Yeah. I call it a radical honesty. And that's the only way that I can feel happy. Fiction really makes me happy when it's going well. It really makes me happy. And I can tell when like there are a few times in my life when I've held back in my fiction, and I can tell. I can tell that I am, in some ways it's like letting yourself down. I can tell.
Can you say when you felt you had that?
In some of the stories in the thing around your neck, I think that I held that. In a way.
Why did you? I know you don't like the why questions, but why did you?
No, this is a different one. Different kind of one question. I guess because I just felt like maybe I just shouldn't go there. Maybe I shouldn't be as honest as I think. Maybe I shouldn't let this character be its full self in a way. His or her full self. I don't know. But anyway, the point is, I think if I learned anything from doing that, it's that it just doesn't make me happy. It doesn't feel true. It doesn't feel authentic. So some of those short stories I don't like, actually. But no, dream count, no. I don't hold back. I go where the character takes me. It's a revelation.
You have some very direct
From
comparison.
above. Yes. But I also think, I feel so strongly about literature, and about fiction. I think it's our last frontier. It's only in literature that we can learn things that we cannot learn anywhere else. So journalism cannot tell us about human motivation. Journalism cannot go deep into like the terrain of the human heart, which I think is really key for almost everything in the world. I mean, I really think the psychology of people can explain so much about the world. I mean, just the psychology of the people who are in leadership positions. I think that, journalism can't do that. Politics doesn't do that. To write nonfiction, especially about other people's lives, is to be constrained by certain things that you cannot possibly know. But I think fiction lets you it's the essential thing I think that we need when it's done well.
That kind of,
As was done in this case.
yeah, and I was going to say that brings us to one of the characters in the book. It's based on a woman who exists in real life. Can you tell us a bit more?
So, yes, inspired by her. The legal department of my publishers.
Inspired by.
Yeah, you need to use the right word.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so inspired by. So I remember when did you follow the story of Dominique Strauss-Kahn?
I didn't actually. I didn't know. I now went and read
That's
up
so
on it
interesting.
backwards. Yeah. It wasn't. I don't think it was really that big in South
It
Africa.
was big in the UK.
Yeah. Yes, and in the US. I mean, until the case was dropped. So this woman who was from Guinea and who worked as a hotel housekeeper accused him of raping her. She walked into the room to clean it, and there's a naked white man running toward her. And I remember when I first heard about it, I was just riveted by it. And it was also very melodramatic. He was arrested. He was already inside the plane, about to fly to Paris, where he would then have started his campaign for president. It was almost a done deal that he was going to be the next president. And so he's arrested, and Americans, as Sister Warnes, did this very dramatic thing of parading him in front of journalists, which I hate. I think it's a terrible thing.
Why?
Because I think, especially when it comes to sexual assault cases, we really have to be very careful to get it right. Because the world is so deeply immersed in misogyny that there are people looking for the smallest reason to discredit a sexual assault case. And so you imagine the misogynist just aching to say things like, see, this is wrong, we don't know if you did it or not, you're already parading him. I wish they had kept it very quiet. I wish they had gone to court. I wish they had found him guilty. I wish they had publicized the evidence. That would have made me very happy. Because then, I think the story would have ended differently. But anyway, so he's arrested, and he's let out on bail, and then we're all kind of looking forward to the trial, and then at some point the case is dropped. And the case is dropped because they said she had lied on her asylum application. And I just remember thinking, I was just shocked. I really was. I almost couldn't believe it. And also just the way that his lawyers talked about her. He just kept repeating liar and lied, liar.
Yeah.
And for the average person watching this, your assumption is going to be that she lied about what had happened. And I think this was also I think they deliberately did that. But in fact, they said she lied about her asylum. And my thinking is, what we're saying to women is, if you ever expect to get justice for sexual assault, then you better be perfect. You better be sinless. Right? Which therefore means you better not be human, because we're all flawed. I found that it really, I felt hurt actually. I'm also very angry, so I wrote this very angry essay. Nonfiction, very blunt, which was, my point was, this is bad, and I think I framed it in a kind of America is not like not like Nigeria, not like Guinea. In Guinea and Nigeria, big man would probably not be arrested at all. So that America did this was wonderful. I felt very heartened by it, but America has disappointed me, and in some ways has failed this woman. But I didn't think I would write fiction about her. I didn't plan to. So when I started writing this novel, again, a character came to me. And so I think it means that even without knowing it, I carried her with me. And then suddenly, something drops into your life and changes it forever. For me, there was just a great sadness there. Like I felt so upset on her behalf. But anyway, so I wrote this character who is not really her, because I've invented this character's past life. I've invented this character's interior life. But I have kept the one story about Nafissatou Diallo, that's her name. The story that Nafissatou Diallo tells about what happened in that hotel room, I kept as close as possible to that version. Because I just think that, in some ways I think it's a way of paying tribute to her, but also it's about so many women like her. It's about women who are powerless and who are not allowed to have dignity. The way she was, the way they talked about her, just, it wounded my African spirit.
My parents were all Ewute.
It just, it wounded, it wounded me because I just thought, this is so wrong. And even the interviews I kind of fictionalized it in the novel, but there's an interview where I'm watching and I'm thinking, they haven't done this right. English is not her native language.
Right.
And so you're asking her about something so intimate and so difficult in a language that she doesn't really speak well. It cannot go well. In some ways, you're setting her up to look as though she's lying. And I remember a friend of mine who said to me at the time that she had watched the interview and she said, oh, I don't believe her because she was so dramatic. She was using her hands too much. And that made me very angry as well. I thought, first of all, you don't understand. There's an African world in which that is not dramatic. But also, this woman she was put in a position where she had to make up for what she lacked in her ability to express herself. Right. So anyway, all of that is to say this character is inspired by nothing.
There's something about mom's touch. It makes cough, headache, and blocked nose go poof.
It's more than just my touch. It's Vicks Vapora. It relieves nasal congestion, cough, body ache, headache, and muscle stiffness for a good night's sleep. Vicks Vapora.
But isn't her.
It's interesting that you say the thing about the public trials and all of that. I don't know if this is still true, but I believe in Germany, when a case is happening, when you're being investigated, the press isn't allowed to report on it. And they have a very strict system that tries to prevent the press from sensationalizing the case in any way. So it's supposed to be the way you're saying, which I actually think would be good for everyone involved, because I think, number one, there's nothing worse than a public trial, because it does not have any of the respect nor the expertise of a trial, right? The most recent example, let's say like the Diddy thing, the amount of random stuff that now comes up doesn't help anything. So what happens is someone can put up a fake piece of a fake, deposition or whatever it might be, and it sullies somebody's case that's not involved with that. Do you know what I mean? But it just,
The spectacle of it all.
it just creates noise, and it creates, another example is the Luigi Mangione.
Oh, but we like to see.
Yeah, but what I was saying is, but I was going like, you tell me how you had that trial when publicly they've already said, you know, the shooter, and when he shot, and how do you now then have a trial of somebody when that's already been done? And you see, it's interesting when you say that and you talk about the perp walk. I can think of maybe at least 10 examples in the book where the fiction of this book still comments on the realness of America. It's like a critique on it. So, you know, American academia, how people are discussing issues in and around the world, and how they feel they can and cannot have the discussions. The justice system.
Harry says in America, money is justice.
Yes.
Which was very powerful to me because he just sued.
Yeah.
You know, that's like...
Yeah, and I should say that I actually took a character in my just Pastor horror.
Yeah.
I remember when I came to this and they would say things like, oh, something terrible happened, like when the family got money. You know, somebody was shot maybe, and then somebody would be like, oh, the family got money. I'm thinking, yeah, but why are you talking about it like that's so bad? Yeah. Somebody died,
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but fundamentally, that's what America was based on. And I think every culture thinks that justice is the thing that the culture most values. You don't think so? Think about okay, if I think about like some parts of South Africa, I remember talking to Kaya about this friend of mine from South Africa, and his grandfather was a chief in the village. And if they found someone, very seldom, but if somebody stole something or if they did something wrong, you just get beaten, right? You wouldn't get arrested, you wouldn't get put away, you just get beaten, and then they would talk to you and say, please don't do that again. That's all it was. And him and I were joking about it, saying, it's interesting how in that setting in particular, in like a village, you know, where many of our grandparents grew up, that was the thing that you, like,
So what was violent?
No, it was the other way around. Our culture valued non-violence, and our culture valued like the culture itself. It was like a very that's not the thing that we want. Do you understand what I'm saying? If the violence takes away from the thing that the culture holds most valuable, I find. So in some parts of the world, time is the thing that they really look at. Other places in the world think that shame is a more powerful tool. So their sentences may not be as long, but how they handle the case is worse. But I feel like in America, because money, whether we like it or not, money is like almost the foundation of America. They go, then if we give you money, you have been made whole. And the other person lost money, so they've really been punished.
And also now money being speed.
Yeah.
I mean, in this country, completely. Systems United. But anyway, let's talk about dream count.
But I feel like dream count is everything. I agree with, like for instance, academia. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
It felt like the book was making a criticism of how America's liberal academia treats discussions, contrarians, arguments, etc. And I found myself reading it going like, I was like, oh, I wonder how much of this Chimamanda thinks, or is it just a character that's thinking? Like, what do you think of the current state of America's academia and how students are taught to think or not think?
I think that's fairly obvious.
No, is it though?
I think it's a fair read. And actually, it's a reading that I agree with, which is that yes, the book is clearly not enthusiastic about the form and even the function of American academia today. I mean, obviously. But so you have a woman who's Nigerian and who doesn't know anything about that whole thing.
Yeah.
Who comes looking for something better than she is. Right? So she's come from a life in Nigeria that she thinks she kind of wants to atone for, right, in a way. And so America becomes, I want to do something noble and beautiful and good and honorable. Because America is aspirational still, even to people who know that it's a very complicated place. There's still an aspirational element to America. And so she comes and she wants to do a master's. And she wants to study pornography, if you should be able to say that.
Yeah, I can say that. Okay.
So, pornography. and she, so it's interesting for me, as the writer, to look at this world from the point of view of the person who just does not know it and is not familiar with it. So this person is just taken aback, surprised. It's like, what is going on? And also then she becomes so disillusioned.
Safeties.
I think someone wants to read that as a cautionary tale.
Wil je kop zieken, hè? Je moet kop. Dat krijg je met hem.
You can't make people lose that thing in them that wants to be better and dream and aspire. There's something actually I think quite cynical about, and it's not an obvious cynicism, but there's something quite cynical about the way that academia operates. It doesn't feel to me, I don't know, there's something, the beautiful things that are lacking. So it's not just about
Dat wou ik je gevraagd, dat reeds. Ja, wat wou ik je... Het is koud. Ik weet niet, dat wil ik je gevraagd. Ik denk dat het zo nou op.
So I will not use kindness but compassion.
Je hebt een paar gebruik van die soppie. Je hebt eigenlijk die gebruik niet zo dan, hè?
It's a very strange thing because
Maar dat gebruik is het. Het gebruik is ongelooflijk uitloopbaar zo wat. Maar ze een bij dieren. Dieren met me. Oké. Langzaam. Ja. Er is geen nazi. Oké.
And that's not the case in America. It's not the case at
Yeah.
all. And sometimes it's difficult to talk about because you don't want to.
Zo, daar paar naar ons en nou. Misschien heeft iemand er gevraagd, hè? Ze scheen. Maar dat was een examen. Maar zij zelfs in bij. Wauw.
How what you advise me let's say there's an aspiring author or even just like a student who loves your work out there, somebody who is in academia right now, they come to you and they say, Chimamanda, I hear what you're saying about empathy and seeing another person's point of view, but I feel like this person who I disagree with, the thing that I disagree with them on is the fundamental humanity or existence of another human being per se. Because that's what I've heard a lot of people say. No. This is not a difference between 30%
Is het niet
tax and 20% tax. I'm disagreeing with somebody who fundamentally believes that black people should not get this, or that this group should not get that, or that, you know what I mean? How would you encourage them then?
But I don't even agree that that's the case.
You don't agree that that's the case?
No, because I think that
Wait, they feel that, or that, which part are you not?
No, I'm sure that you feel that. Okay. But that you feel something doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't. I think that when you widen the definition of something,
Een zoek maar ja.
this is somebody who believes that black people should not have. Maybe that person just feels. Maybe that person supports school choice.
Okay.
Like, and this is an exact example. Like, somebody who is very upset, somebody who supports school choice. And then the very strange conclusion was that this person who supports school choice doesn't like black people. That's not, I mean, you really feel that, but that's not necessarily rational thinking. So, I guess my point is,
Ja, maar bro, zo vieslijke bedrag een keer betaal, joh.
incredibly terrible in the past 20 years, or something has changed in the way in our
Ja.
capacity
Hij is gewoon daar langs in.
to have compassion,
Dat is 3 miljoen rand.
broad-minded,
Wat is paard?
more complexity. My
3
point is that 20 years ago, I don't think we In other words, universities were places where
Nog een
people
next.
still exchange ideas, weren't terrified of saying something because some people blacklisted for saying the wrong thing. So, which is it? Is it that there are many more people now who fundamentally have these really obvious beliefs about other human beings? You said something about wearing our politics more closely. Is that what it is? Or has it then
Yeah.
changed the way we look and the way we judge and the conclusions that we draw?
So, as I say often, I have a very human nature is very toxic. I've always thought people are terrible, and I still think they're terrible. I don't know if that's true. I mean, this guy.
It's guilty as proven innocent. That's how she works with all humans.
Talk about generational trauma. I always think to myself, like my father and his two brothers.
5 megabyte line.
And considering what they've gone through, they are such good, passionate, and empathetic and non-suspicious people. You would think I went through the war, but that's why I become my therapist. Generational trauma is that I'm but what I do say is some people have a dim view of human nature. And if that is true, because I always say, you know, there are racist people that are out there sometimes. But there are some people that there's people that do not see my humanity. How do we go from there? Because I think there's an in-between.
Yeah, but I don't think that those are the people we're talking about. That's my point. So in these circles, so people on university campuses who don't feel comfortable saying what they think are not the crazy
Yeah.
racists on Twitter. The crazy racists on Twitter are interested in everything. I mean, there's some people that you should even bother engaging with or trying to calls Trump white Obama.
So he says what Obama represents to so many people, especially black people, Trump represents to like so many white people, where they go, this is our moment, this is our the sort of lost dream, the lost idea, and it's a comedy premise. But he's not going, these are the same people. He's just saying for them, that is their promise.
So one speaks to the darkness, the other speaks to the light.
Yes.
There's an overlap in their voters. And they both speak to some aspirations, but in different ways. That's the argument. Yeah.
It's hope, but in different directions. Obama goes home.
You're not sold. I love it.
No, I'm not.
I mean, Chimamanda is not sold on anything.
I like it.
No, I mean, this is not true. This is true. The same with Christianity is not sold. I don't expect to sell you on that.
I am sold on something.
Sy vriende like en sy meeste
No, I was thinking about it.
Wie is dat?
Trevor Noah.
Huh?
Hy sê sy vriende like en sy
Oh, voor de fame.
Yeah, so I
ja,
would
want
say
hulle kan
this
nie
for the,
elke keer as hulle eendag met mense foto's
it's a lot
gevat.
Ja.
harder.
Nou hulle like in jou brand kan
I understand where
rustig eet en
That's fair.
a student or
Maar
any
nie meer so
person
en
comes,
nou
and I
eendag net
I
sien ek op
understand
Facebook.
in all
Maar
of
daar
this,
bro
right?
se fotograaf.
I can see somebody who goes,
And do they still
no,
put
this
over
country, we have to
And
completely
then
change
try
this, and
to
it's
make
gone
some
to
of
the
the
dogs,
people
quote unquote.
And
But then I also understand
Trevor
someone
Noah
who
so I
says,
think
a lot of the language you're using, or a lot of these ideas, you don't even know where they came from.
hulle staan nog net
Thinking
so
of it just
gesê
through the
as kom
lens
te
of
brand en
choice.
approach Trevor Noah.
But for
En
many
dit
people
hy het net
who
begin
have
praat met
dug
Trevor
into the
Noah
trenches
gevra
of
hy
where
hy
ideas
Trevor
come
Noah
from, you start to
sê ja
realize
is hy
that some of
hoe
the
by
ideas
mense
are
so
innocuous in their sound.
hoe by mense
But
dit
when
is
they
hy
were
fyn
written,
nonsense
like,
weer
how?
hoe Trevor Noah sê maar
But the person who supports
nou ander
culture
mense
does
aan
not
sê
know.
les
I agree.
hulle het hele kom
Rauw en
That person
die prijzen staan 5 komen bro.
that person is
Het hier prijs zijn hè?
But that person does not know.
Yes.
And it's also this new
en hy dink
where
wel
you're not even allowed
wel
to
so
use.
dat hy dan kom
Yo bra.
And I
Wil je net in de hometown famous is of what? Allemaal ga je ook in.
in this new sort of world where people don't even to ask a question you're uncomfortable. I remember when I spoke at
Want zij gaan nou
an Ivy League university, which
mensen different.
named. And so I had a few of the students in a sort of private meeting where I just, because I like to know what young people are really thinking, away from the grown-ups. And so we started talking, and then I said, you know, I really feel like uncomfortable to say what you really think. Everyone was like, no. And then one person goes, yeah, but sometimes, and suddenly all of them were like, yeah, sometimes. And even that struck me, because I remember thinking we've gone from that kind of almost forced conformity to suddenly thinking, okay, maybe I can actually say what I'm really thinking, right? And there was something about it that just made me sad, because I thought they were graduating, and I thought, what have they lost out on learning in the 4 years they've been here? Because they've been too unsure, uncomfortable about asking questions. And again, so what I mean about these kids are not the fringe on Twitter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they already know that I better be careful, otherwise somebody will think that I'm a person who hates black people. Yeah. And so I don't know, it just made me so sad.
Do you think that's a byproduct of who actually holds the power in universities? You know, like you see funding being pulled, you see rich donors saying, if you teach that, then I'm pulling my funding. If you,
And I think a large part of America's academia problem is money. There's just so much money that, I mean, even the entitlement of the students is about money.
I mean, the school fees are high.
They're high, right? They're high. And so students feel like, well, I bought this. I mean, when I taught creative writing at Princeton when I was doing it, I remember a student coming to me and saying, you gave me a C. I've never gotten a C in my life. And I was like, how is that my paper? I was like, I can show you why. I mean, so I thought if the student had come to me to say, I want to prove to you that you kind of, you know, here's why I should not get the C. Here's the thing on my paper. But no. The student said, I have never had a C in my life. This is my first C. And so I want you to change it. And so my first thought was, you know, I don't blame you. Maybe your father gave money to Princeton. But my dear, this is your grade because this is what you wrote in your paper. And we can discuss your paper. But you know, money, no, really. And then, they have so much money in the endowments, but there's, people are giving them money, and so they have special dinners for them, and so money, I think, is a major problem. And that's happening so much more. This whole, I will withhold my promised grant if you don't do. And then I think Israel Palestine has really made that so much more. Well, you're doing that, therefore. And I just think, I also just wish that universities were not so beholden to people who have money, because then I think they would be more courageous. I think there's very little courage left in the public space. That's what I mean about longing for. I'm like from a lot of dream time. I'm longing for what's noble, what's beautiful. I want heroes. I want people I can look up to and admire and learn from. I think there's a large part of me that is disillusioned, disappointed, even heartbroken. I hide it in sarcasm, but it's all there.
Don't go anywhere, because we got more. What now after this? Do you think there's a part of you that not wishes, or I wonder if this happens to everyone in the public space. You and I were talking about, I've experienced this, almost everyone has. There will be a moment where it feels like you are a hero, and then it feels like the natural part of that journey is to now be the villain, or to have and I don't know if it's art imitates life or vice versa.
So you're this high of the hill.
Yeah,
it's come down.
I think about how if you and I had a conversation, I remember our first conversation, it was like I was speaking to Jesus. No, really, that's how people, they're like, wow, you're going to speak to Jesus. Oh, wow, I ask her how, but it was such in a beautiful way, but it was really, but people were like, wow, and your words were gospel, and then this whole thing. And then I remember saying now to people, I was like, oh, I'm going to speak to Chimamanda, and they were like, oh, yeah, well, it gets you in trouble. Just so you know, you might get in a little trouble. There might be and like I said, yeah, no, on social media, I guess, but I don't know if it's because people wish for it to be the natural progression, or if, sort of going to what we started with, your fame sort of metastasizes for some people where they wish for you to be. It creates an idea of everything that you must think. And if you deviate at any point from what they think you think, then they go, the whole thing must come down. Does that make sense?
How would it get you in trouble, though? How would you get in trouble? Talking to me.
Everyone has a different opinion on why. Some people will be like, oh, you're going to talk to her, she's anti-trans. Are you going to talk to a transphobe? And I'm like, how can Chimamanda's transphobic? And they're like, well, you better check. Then someone else will go, oh, she's right-wing leaning. And I'm like, I'm pretty certain Chimamanda's not right-wing leaning. And they're like, no, you see what she says about anti-cancel culture. And then I go, okay, now, this is me as a trans. I try and at all costs form my own opinion on something, and then allow the world to, in some way, shape, or form, bump up against it, because I don't live in isolation. But when I read your piece on how it wasn't cancel culture, you said something that was beautiful, it was about was it purity or forgive me, I don't know the message, but not
Shout.
but I remember reading it thinking, damn, this is a really insightful, messy and honest view on how we're dealing with conversations in society. We're failing a purity test, and we're writing people off. And I go,
Trots op jou.
guys, it's not sustainable to lose your whole family because your uncle said this thing. I was like, politicians will come and go, and topics will come and go. The people in your life hopefully won't. I'm a big fan of that, right?
This is the reason I'm not on social media.
I come through it from a different perspective. I think how in America it's like, you're right, you're left, you're right wing. Because I think people can take multiple ideological positions. On some issues, on some, like right wing leaning on what? Left wing, there is no one.
Yes, but it's buffet politics.
I don't know. What are right wing ideas? I mean, right, even
How do you
right?
define
But that's
yeah.
Which is why it's not about, and I agree with you that we're not pure. I mean, and especially when you're a person who comes from the reasonable regions of the world. That is Africa, Asia, Latin America, the Middle East. You kind of understand. You have uncles who, I have relatives who still think that women really should not be working outside the home. And and then there's me. And we still happen to get along. Yeah. And I think that there's certain views that, some of my views have changed as I've become older. Even I think in some ways my feminism has changed. I think, for example, when I was younger, I didn't want to talk about women's bodies. I felt that this is how they stigmatize women. I felt like, no, nobody should talk about PMS because they use that to justify excluding women. They say things like, how can a woman be president? If she has PMS, she's going to press the button then. But now I realize actually men press the button without PMS as an excuse. So maybe women are still the better choice, right? If we can just get the hormones stable, then we're fine. But man, my God, no PMS and they're just doing crazy things. So, but that has changed for me.
I can list people in every field, comedians who say, now I say a thing that's a joke. It used to be agreed that this was a joke. We all knew that this wasn't real. It's fiction. I do not want to kill my mother-in-law. And now someone goes, so for you to be furthering the idea of violence, you're like, no. Like Jimmy Carr says it really beautifully, the British comedian. He had this thing that he used to play at the beginning of his shows in response to this. And then he'd have a message that would come on and would say, hello, I'm Jimmy Carr, I'm a comedian. I want you to know that I'm going to be making some jokes about terrible things tonight. But remember, these are jokes about the terrible things. These are not the terrible things. The jokes are not making the terrible things, and the jokes are not changing the terrible things, but these are the jokes about the things. So, have a good time. These are jokes. But I was amazed that even he had to put that in the show. Do you get what I'm saying?
But I do think though that I can tell you that the certain jokes I will not laugh at, that certain things I refuse to laugh at.
But that's fine, that's comedy. It's like there's some people who don't like spicy food. I judge them, but I don't mind them.
I don't think that's a good analogy.
Why not?
Because when I say I won't laugh, it's
It's the new 24/7 long-lasting Old Spice deodorant.
Trust agent to unblock it. Boots fast in 25 seconds. That's not fast 12 hours. Alienated generations of family care. Try Alienated and overcome everything experience. Alienated unblock the nose fast.
Whether you are buying or selling, find your happy place with Waterfree.
Stop doing this. Let me show you 3 phone mistakes made by everyone. Number 1 is deleting photos manually. Number 2 is deleting all the apps on the phone. Number 3 is buying cloud storage. These 3 mistakes can never free up your phone storage. Instead, use AI Cleaner. Open this. Optimize storage. Get rid of your duplicate photos and videos. Delete promotions and spam emails. Download AI Cleaner for free.
It's not like, oh, it's just my case. It's more that I think, in some ways similar to what you said about school choice, about how that people who know that maybe deep down the language or in the foundation of that idea, there's something that's toxic or
something pernicious.
So that's what I mean about the certain jokes I won't laugh about, because I think that there's certain jokes that are not just jokes. I think sometimes people are not laughing with you, they're laughing at you.
But I think this is a dangerous road to go down because you're a fiction writer. So someone could say to you, Chimamanda, your book, this cannot exist because it is not, it is...
No, cannot exist. So here's the difference. I will not laugh at that joke, but I'm not going to say you cannot see that joke.
Okay, no, but then we understand. But that's what I mean by it. That's what I'm saying. It is taste. So comedians, and we love you for doing this as comedians. We'll be at a show. We'll watch a comedian tell a very racist joke. We'll go. That's funny, and it's racist. And as comedians, we say the craft of what the person is doing in terms of making a thing funny, they've done. But we're also acknowledging the roots of it. It is racist. The same way I can look at like food, and I go like, yeah, this food is poisonous, but it's delicious. Do you know what I mean? And so I think, look, I think we're on the same page there. I'm not saying people should laugh at everything the same way I don't think people should enjoy every book, every point of view, etc. However, that's why I think, we're saying the same thing.
But no, but if I want to go back to you, ask me a question about making a decision sort of almost solely on your own.
Yes.
And I don't think of it as that kind of dichotomy, because I don't think it's even possible.
Oh, I wasn't saying clear cut, I was saying more like, how do you find that, like, what do you think the responsibility is? Because I don't think it's clear cut, but you exist somewhere on that spectrum.
I exist on the, I'm sort of leaning towards thinking. I really believe in sort of lucid thinking.
Yeah.
So, and I like clarity. And I'm a writer. I also like words to mean what they mean. I like clarity of language. I like clarity of I like thinking about things. And from the time I was a little girl, I just was never a person who went along with what I was supposed to do or believe. I've always kind of wanted to, I want to sit with this for a while and think about it. Right. But also I want to make decisions based on knowledge and information. So I'm very keen on, if there's a subject and so I want to read about it. So AI, I've been reading books about AI, I don't know what the hell that's about. So now I know things like this generative AI, there's predictive AI. And did you know about the training models? But so when I say make up my own mind, it's not that I just sit there with nothing. I want to gather information and then I want to process it for myself.
You're a student.
Yes, I'm a student. And I always want to be a student. But what I can tell you is that I'm never going to be swayed by criticism. Never. That's never going to happen. I am the daughter of James and Grace and it's not going to happen. That's it. That I have my opinions, and I can have conversations with you about why I have those opinions. And I'm also very keen to know why you disagree.
Yeah.
If you're a person who can actually make coherent sentences about what you disagree.
So you encourage the discourse and the dialogue, but it has to be grounded in, intellectual curiosity. And it seems like, from reading your essays and your work, a mutual respect.
Yes.
The affront to you is like, don't be disrespectful.
Exactly. If there's disrespect, I will not take it. I'm just not going to. And I think also, I remember one thing to somebody, I'm loved. And I am loved. I have the best parents in the world. So I do not need to campaign for your love. I don't need to change myself for you. If you like me, I'm happy that you like me. If you don't like me, I'm still me. And I wish that it was easier for more people. Especially.
There's a line in the book where one of your characters is basically talking about, I think, like how the world is shaped. And they basically say something to the effect of, it's almost like America doesn't know that the world isn't American. And I remember having this discussion with a friend of mine who was taken aback because they really felt offended, and I understood why. It was
Is there anything you do not understand?
No, I try to understand most things. Genuinely. I think everything is fine the way what you do. Oh, everything's understandable, but I'm just like, agreeing is different, I think. So, I remember...
You would make a good fiction writer. This is actually how we're supposed to see... You're supposed to kind of understand everybody's point of view, if that makes sense.
Because he's biracial and he was born in apartheid.
I think so.
Anywhere, so he had
No, I think so. In many ways, I think. But I've been trained from my birth to be that way as a person. So I had no one way of eating food. I had no one way of celebrating a Christmas. I had no one way of speaking a language. I had no one way of my head looking, my face looking. I had no one way of my country being. So I've never believed that there is a one way. You know what I'm saying? So I remember like one of the first ones that came to me was, I told this as a joke in one of my shows long ago, but I said, I always found it interesting that people would mock someone with another accent. But I go, but somebody who has an accent, it means that they're fluent in another language. And that was something that, so for me, when you talk about understand, I would always go, Yeah, if somebody has a funny accent, it can be funny, but don't ever forget that it means that they speak another language fluently. That's why they have the accent. And so, when I think of these things, I was doing shows in the Middle East, and my friend said to me, "Hey, aren't you conflicted? You go to the Middle East and you do shows, and I said, well, what are you going to be conflicted about?" And I said, "Oh, I mean, their views on gay marriage." And I said, "It's interesting that you asked me this because America's views on gay marriage are not as old as you think. Like, this is a now thing. Do you get what I'm saying?"
Yeah, but we have to remember how Europeans are like when we're in America.
But what I'm saying is, what got me with that was, I was saying, I'm not dismissing it. Far from it, you know what I mean? What I'm saying is, it's interesting how, for me, when America has finished with an issue or has decided a place, it then now goes, that is correct now for the world. So before gay marriage is accepted in America, Americans go like, no, gay marriage is, no, God, Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Come on, we all agree on this. America says gay marriage, and then America goes around on a conquest around the world, pointing at every country to be like, where's your gay marriage? And then I go, guys, how old is the UAE as a place, like as an actual country? How old is it? And I go, if you look at the advancements they've made in the time that they've been a country versus how long it took America to get to those places, it's actually pretty impressive. Now, you want them to do it overnight because you've already agreed upon it, but you're not giving them their time to get to it, which I think we all do as people. Why have you not found Jesus yet? I found Jesus. And you're like, yeah, but there was a time when you hadn't found Jesus. Yes, but now that I found him, why don't you find Jesus? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, when you say we all do it, I don't think we all do. But anyway,
or maybe you. I don't. Yeah, no, but I think when I say all, I mean the collective, you know?
But you know what's interesting? And it's true about Americans. And I think it comes from, I mean, just listening to you, this person says to you, aren't you conflicted? And then you're saying, let's look at the UAE, how old is it?
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, that American point of view often comes from a place of just not knowing very much about the world. And also I sometimes feel that arguments in this country are not rooted in information and knowledge. It's not just that often they can feel like performances, but it would be nice if someone said, why aren't you conflicted? And someone else says, no, I'm not conflicted. Well, people like jokes, and so I'm going to go with people like jokes. I think that's kind of what you would often hear in America.
Okay.
Rather than how long does it take society to evolve? What are the changes that have happened that speak to a certain kind of hopeful progressivism? That doesn't happen. So Trevor, you need to start classes.
I mean, this is the class.
No, you see people no, but really, I'm just thinking, and I think it is true about really a lot of things. I just wish that sometimes it was a huge issue of the day, outrage of the day, that people would be like, I'm not going to have an opinion until I've read the book about it.
Trevor's the king of that, not the book, but remember at the show, the Daily Show, I think it was Jussie Smollett. Yes, an example always comes to mind. Jussie Smollett, the incident happened where he said he was assaulted by these Trump people. We're doing the meeting, we're watching the videos, and people are like, oh, this is so outrageous, this is so sad. Myself, who's like Trotsky on the far left, and another writer who I won't name, but it's pretty right wing, we both said there's something not right. And Trevor said, you see these two people? They never agree.
I did say that.
And he's like, guys, let's pause. Trevor said, we're not gonna cover this.
Yeah.
We're not gonna go for like MAGA racists. And we had all the roles, because it's a big production to get all these clips. We had all the roles, people had the take, people had made jokes about how it was. And Trevor was like, let's take a break. And this was like on the Monday or Tuesday. Wednesday, war's coming in, people are saying justice for justice. Justice for like Kamala Harris, everyone's tweeting. Trevor's still like, let's take a break. I think it wasn't until like Wednesday or Thursday, it emerges that, the story wasn't what he was professing it to be. And Trevor was like, okay, now we're ready. And I always think about that when a story breaks or there's some hot button issue. Because I'm always like, I'm quite fiery, you may have gathered. I used to be of the view of like, this is my opinion, but Trevor's very good. Let's take a beat, let's read more. I used to get frustrated because I'd be like, this happened to these people, they're dying. And Trevor said, well, people die every day, we can't we have to have an informed response to what's happening.
So here's where I have a compassion for people. I think it's unfair for us to expect that of people because they are living in the world that they're living in. You know? No, I honestly
Is it unfair to expect it of everyone?
yes. I think I'll tell you what.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can disagree with
People have
me.
a certain responsibility. It's unfair to expect it of people who are deep inside something. So, for example, to say, if you said to me, it's unfair to expect people in Gaza, or it's unfair to expect people who lived through what happened in Israel to be rational or objective.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But the average person, no.
Okay.
We have a responsibility.
But now here's
So are you Jesus then? Are you above everyone else? How come you? No, but really.
no. Let me explain.
How come you?
Let me explain why. Okay. Let me explain why.
Because this argument, I'm going to say that the foundation of it is very self-aggrandizing.
I'll tell you why. Okay. So here's what I think. I think we all have areas where we are able to see what others cannot see. It might present itself differently. I think LeBron James sees things on a court that most human beings cannot. That just happens to be his area where he sees it. There'll be things that I see that other people cannot. You can choose a field, you can choose a world. There are people who see things that others cannot. I think in society, once we created institutions, we basically outsourced that expertise to institutions in a very good way, and that became a lot of what advanced society, right? And so, like, let's think of it this way. Let's look at a nutrition label on a box of something, or food, when they would say healthy or whatever. People are relying on the fact that that food has been inspected, and so it is healthy, and so they will ingest it. Yeah, right?
So that's kind of different though.
No, but why?
Different from there's a new outrage of the day, like this story that you told of the guy who said someone had mocked him.
Yes.
And suddenly people have opinions. My thing is, often people don't have, so
Like, there's no book to read on that. What do you want them to do?
But I think we're not disagreeing on the way. Are you talking about the reflexive urge to take a side?
Yes.
And you want to take a seat?
Yes.
I'm with you.
So when I
completely on
think
this.
that, my thing, and so I often also say, go to the primary source. Like, so sometimes someone will report something to me, is this true? And I'm just like, where did you get this from?
But Chimamanda, I think you are overestimating people's ability to even know what the truth is. Like, I went to journalism school, and sometimes I've been tricked. I've been tricked myself.
In what way?
You know, there's sometimes it's just like, there was I think it was an AI thing. I was sent something recently, and I was momentarily duped until I dug a bit deeper, and I was like, oh, this is not true. This is manufactured. And I think we assume people to be a lot more literate than they are. And that's not coming from an arrogant place. I think we're just flooded with information. And I tell you, I'm like, sometimes I get WhatsApp forwards from my aunties. I'm like, Auntie, where did you, especially during COVID, chew ginger, slip. And I was like, Auntie, but you're like, no, don't get the vaccine, chew ginger and you'll be fine, right? And to task that person with finding the truth, a lot of people don't know where to start, especially where we are being flooded with misinformation. So I think Trevor's saying maybe we should have a bit more grace because not everyone is able to maneuver.
No, I'm saying that we should not take for granted the fact that the systems have been corrupted in such a way that the people who are looking for the thing are often the ones who are duped the most. A perfect example is vaccines, right? Most of the parents who don't want to get their kids vaccinated read more than the parents who get their kids vaccinated. They go out there and they say, I want to do the research. I want to learn. I want to inform myself. What is a vaccine? What's going into my child? What's happening? And because of that and the information that they then get their hands on, they then make the decision to not vaccinate their child because they think that they have been able to do, quote unquote, more research than an institution or than a body of science or medicine. And so in the same way you've gone and read a book on artificial intelligence, that's what I think a lot of people are doing. And I'm not saying you are doing this, by the way, but then someone might go, no, I've read a book on artificial intelligence. Ergo, I now know it for myself. And it's like, no. Trust me, a data scientist and an engineer who's actually coded that, they know it more than you do. The book has tried to give you some sort of introduction to it, but the expert is still the expert of it. And so I think what I mean by all of this is, like America's an example. I used to think that a lot of America's decisions were from like a lack of knowledge, and I think it is in many ways, but I also think it's like the history of the place, right? Look at what America was when it becomes this world power. It's a coming together, it's a university of everyone. The brightest thinkers, the smartest from Eastern Europe, the most brilliant from like the UK. It's just this melting pot of the most brilliant human beings who come together. And you could argue at some point America is the bastion of like science and freedom and ideas and thinking, and the schools are different, etc., etc., etc. And I think, like most systems, or even like most people, you can think that will just maintain itself, but you might be stuck in time. And so I think America still thinks that it is ahead of the world in everything, because it may have been at a time. But I have a lot of compassion for people who are in that system, because I go, it's Plato's cave. If you're in the cave, how can you know that you're in the cave if the cave is telling you that it's not a cave? It's the only world you've ever been. So how do I give you that responsibility? I think we should put the responsibility at the feet. The same way, I don't think it's our responsibility to recycle. I think it's the government's responsibility to make sure that the things that need to be recycled aren't even made in the first place.
So I think both things can be true.
I'm with you. They're my sister, 100%.
Because that meaning,
No, they're 100%.
I'm glad, I really do believe in the idea of experts. I really do. Like I want, this is also the thing I often say, I want a president who knows more than I do. Like I want in every country that I go. But anyway, that's one. But yes, we want experts, and yes, misinformation is increasingly a problem. But I think there is still, and what you said about people who read about black assassins, I take your point. But I think that those people, is it fair to say that they have already started with a kind of conspiracy theory point of view, which will then, I think, shape where they read? Because if we're talking about experts, maybe they should go to the CDC website.
But
they don't.
to that point, though, I think there is no center. When we're talking about
So that's the point. That's what I mean. Even the idea of experts has become corrupt.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because don't forget, the CDC were the same ones who told people not to wear masks, because they actually just wanted to make sure masks didn't get run out, like the masks weren't taken away from the doctors. But they lied to the people. You see. So now, imagine somebody going, wait, they lied. And they go, yeah, but we lied for good reasons. The same way like any child therapist will tell you, your kid doesn't care why you lied. They just know that you lied. And now they know that lying is allowed, even though mommy or daddy says lying is not allowed. Because they've watched your actions. And I think that's what I mean. It's like, if somebody has been lied to by the CDC about, maybe they have good intentions, but they've been lied to. How do they now then trust that same CDC versus now the account that told them something else, and then that account happened to be true? And you just need like a few truths to start sprinkling in the rest of the lies, right? If your baseline,
But that's CDC action. How do we feel about it? I mean, can we really not make a distinction between...
I think it was terrible.
So do I.
Yes.
But does it cause you to then distrust everything the CDC says?
No, I think for most rational people it doesn't, but we're in a heightened time where there is just like a lot of institutional distrust. I mean, my husband thinks I'm susceptible to cults.
No, but I think everyone.
It's like,
I think everyone.
not just what the algorithm feeds you, but it's been a destabilizing few years. And I think everyone's asking themselves the question, what is true? And what do I believe, what am I? And that's why because of being able to go to all these extremes. And for a lot of people, they're just like, the CDC did this one thing wrong, forget the CDC.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Whether that's right or not, I can't really judge, but I think there's just so much issue.
Honestly, that's probably one of the biggest reasons I do love fiction. One of the biggest reasons I love fiction is because I do not have to question whether it's real or not, and then I'm more susceptible to the message that it's giving me. I mean this, honestly.
You said it's the last frontier.
Because when it is fact, who said this, what's the data, what's the information, we do this all the time. We talk about these things. The data's flawed, the study was flawed, the people running. But with fiction, I just go, this is the world you've created. I don't have to question its realness, but the messages I can completely accept, disagree with, respond to, because in a weird way, fiction creates the most real reality.
It does. It does. Said it better. People should read more novels and short stories.
I agree.
And sometimes even the old ones, because there's just lovely wisdom in them, I think. I mean,
Do you have any favorites you recommend?
old or
No,
recent?
old, yeah.
I I really like Middlemarch. I think it's very long, but it's very wise and just really. I was going to say teaches you, but actually it does. Yeah. You know, in a way that you're having fun, but you're also learning, and you're in the hands of a very wise writer. There's a wonderful writer from Poland who wrote this book called The Beautiful Mrs. and I cannot pronounce the name, Seidenman. But if you just go The Beautiful Mrs., it'll come up, yeah, it'll come up. I also just find it very wise. I love realism. I don't really like speculative fiction. I'm not interested in science fiction. And I just feel like I learn the most from novels because I learn about human beings, and I think it helps me understand the world and helps me. Oh, there's something I forgot to say, which is, so I increasingly am fascinated by how what people think is sophisticated is in fact not at all. I mean, there's a sense in which the arguments and the positions are really incredibly simple and simplistic. But the people who talk about them think that they're very sophisticated. Yes. And I'm thinking about that because of what you said about a certain kind of maybe an insufficient self-knowledge. So in other words, the way that America thinks that it is still leading the world, yes, is the same way that I think certain people in America think that they're incredibly sophisticated in their thinking, but actually it's very provincial and simple. Yes, that I can agree with. On that note, thank you.
Thank you.
Bella.
Thank you very much. Well, this was too much fun for me.
So Miss Foxy, don't. No, guys, I want to be
Thank you very much.
Don't take a chance. Take Fix Unlike other cough syrups, its dual action formula relieves on wet and dry cough. Fix Active Plus.
This is what? It's Trevor Noah.
I need to get into. I want because like
MMA a hobby?
no, so what? Because I've been watching football's different. Premiership is depressing.
Well, the Premiership is not impressive.
For a United fan.
There we go. Say it with your chest. Say it with your chest.
No, I've been introducing. So I have all these brand new kits for the kids because one of my good friends and he's Nigerian. So he's like, there was a time when this meant excellence, and he's like, I feel ashamed that I'm sending you your kids this thing that means they're losers.
I mean, it's the same as when you get the outfit of a fighter and they get popped for steroids that week, and you're like, I already ordered them.
Wait. Fighters have kids?
Kind of. You can get like the whatchamacallit, like the outfit that the team wears in the walkout.
Oh, okay.
You get the zip up and the pants and everything. And you can get, and then you can get their personal merch too.
Yeah.
But because they can't have all independent, like Puma, Nike, whatever, they can have the UFC official thing, and then everything else is from their site. So then some people make like their own kit that you can buy, and you'll buy the kit, and then they'll be like, the fight is off due to a high volume of HGH found in the system, and now you're wearing the kit.
I feel like, I was thinking that, so I'm a Liverpool fan, and not just because it's going well now. We've had some tough times. That's why I feel for you.
I mean, it was good on the clock as well.
Yeah, but I was around before that. I was around when he was still like scrounging around. Do you know what I mean? I haven't even been long this fan, but I've been a fan for long enough that I don't remember like winning things.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? I remember your glory
Gerard.
days. Even yeah, like well not before Gerard, but I mean like because there was like the peak Gerard where he was crushing it, and then he had the slip, which you know ended it for us very painfully. But yeah, but I was like around. You know, what I was actually thinking funny enough is I was going like. I found myself thinking that sports in that way is in some ways like the perfect analogy for nation states. You know, like if you think about it, right now, America is the Man United of the world.
Oh God, that's hard to hear as a United.
Oh, I didn't think you were gonna think that. No, it's true. It's true. It's true. Think about it.
I hope my dad's not listening.
Think about this. Think about this, right? Whether you like America or not, you have to admit there was a point where America was champion of the world. Without like no hesitation, you name it. You know, music, sport, culture, politics, diplomacy. Like it was just like America is the country of the world. No one doubts it. You went anywhere in the world and you said, where do you want to go? America! You know what I mean? Didn't matter what country you went to. America! That was like the thing. And then, I don't know when I would say the first like little slip walk. Maybe
When Obama left.
no, I think before then. I think okay, for me personally, around like 9/11, that was the first time bombing the world was the first time where I noticed
Oh, you mean that? Yeah.
that was the first like, huh.
Oh, I was thinking about when, like, this is so dark, because I moved to America after Bush started bombing the world, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying, as an outsider, when did you consider, like, maybe I don't want to live there anymore? Obama was pretty, you're like, oh, I want to move to a place where Obama can become president. Obama in cases like Alex Ferguson.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then when Obama ends, and you know, if you follow the American story, you assume it would be Hillary, and then Trump comes in. As an outsider, you're like, maybe I want to. I don't know. That's what I thought from, because like it's kind of dark, but like the war in Iraq, like as a break.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I think you could be right, because maybe I was just very selfish and thinking. I was like, I still want to go to a place where
As the only American here, Judge, what do you think?
I'm not a well-traveled person.
That's not true.
No. At the time of 9/11.
Oh, okay.
At the time of 9/11, I was 11. I was not a well-traveled individual. You know what I mean?
Most people would say I was a child. Sure. Just judges himself as an 11-year-old.
But I was like, when 9/11 happened, I remember being scared. And then when I started to understand, when I was in college, so like we're talking like 20, like in 2012, I was like I guess I only saw it through media. So in American media, you see other countries wishing they could come here, wishing that they, or even saying American propaganda out loud in their home country, like, but we're not America, right?
Yeah.
And then when I got older and I was in college and I would take in more media, that was when I was like, the perception is changing. And I had friends who did travel who told people they were Canadian. And like when they went to certain places, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, because that wouldn't have even occurred to me because I hadn't traveled much yet. And so I would say, though, to Christiana's point, when you really look at the world view of America after Obama and during Trump had this weird way of like, I don't know if I have the words for it exactly, but he had this weird way of like bringing things to fruition, but it was him that did it. So then he would be like, America's looking at us as a joke, but we became a joke.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
He was a prophet in his own prophecy. That's what Trump does.
Like he literally, I don't know if you remember that clip, it's like, the American dream is dead. Sir, what are you doing?
But you know what has been illuminating for me is how Trump has changed one thing. In my experience when I traveled, he's changed one thing fundamentally about America, and that is, before Trump, most places in the world I went to saw America as America. They hated America or they liked America, but that's how they spoke about America. Now, Trump has sort of exported American politics to the world. So I go to countries where some people like Trump, And then some people don't like Trump, but they no longer have like a singular view of America. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So even in South Africa, the other day, I got pulled over by a policeman. Very common here. This is like, it's not like in America where your life starts flashing before your eyes. And like in South Africa, you get pulled over almost just for like a conversation. Sometimes they just want to look at your car.
Yeah.
You know, they just pull you over and be like, brother, what is this? And you're like, oh yeah. Like, it's nice, I like it. Okay. So I got pulled over that day. And the cops, straight up guy rolled down the window, he's like, license, then he sees me and then he's like, Trevor. He's like, hey, my man, what are you doing here? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm home. He's like, my man, you should be there, man. Elon Musk, what is he doing to us? Why is he doing these things to South Africans? No, Trevor, but Trump. Guys, there was no time in my life where South African man, in my entire recollection, was speaking about the individuals in American politics. You know what I mean? Even when Bush was like bombing the Middle East, we said America.
Oh, that's interesting.
It wasn't like Bush. People were like, man, what America's doing? America's going up against the United Nations. America's ignoring this. America's waging a fake war. America. Now, I find everywhere in the world, there's a break. There's Trump, and there's not Trump. Yeah.
I think Obama did that, but in a different way. Obama made America look so cool, and like it could like remake itself in a certain way. Because I remember there was like years ago when he was the first time he ran, and they did like a poll in Europe about if Obama ran versus like Kane or whoever was the first time. What was the most? It was like 95% Obama. The rest of all was a no-brainer. Like, guys, great.
I love that Europe, like, who has never had like a black
person. They don't want their own one. They want the American one.
Well, of course it makes sense. It's time to have some change, you know. How can America not have, like, what about you guys? Oh, yeah, let's calm down.
No, it's like dating in high school where there's always that one person that's like, oh, you're so sweet and you're fine. So it's like, what about you?
Indiana, what's fast to provide you the last 12 to 12 hours. Try Indiana today.
Here's how I withdraw profit on Olaf trade. I make a deposit conveniently in the deposit section. I analyze a price chart and open a trade. If the market conditions are just right, I'm in the green. Then I withdraw my funds in the withdraw section commission-free. Install it today.
No, you're fine. I said someone. Yes.
I didn't mean it like that, Josh.
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't mean it like that.
It's that. It's basically that. I think feels like Obama did that and then Trump's done it the other way, but that's why I think there's been claims. You know, I have this whole theory about impasse. They came together. There's something about them.
Oh, okay, you're talking about different things.
No, but I think we're talking about the same thing, but I'm talking about the witchy version. You're talking about the Trump is America's in, but like Obama is America like they think they are, because it's like the performance of goodness, the good side. Because I think Obama performs as a good person as well. And he probably is a bit of an ass. I would be too in private, but like it's like humble and public. The Trump is the dark side, so they're like dumb. Like, you know, there's an overlap in their voting. Right? The same people that voted for Obama also voted for Trump in this state. He's appealing to the same parts of themselves, but just the dark and the light. That's my.
Maybe America should only just have two presidents then forever, and you switch back and forth.
That would make it simpler.
It would make
basically you just ask America, just go like, guys, what are we feeling like? Are we feeling dark times? Or what are we feeling?
Hopeful.
Are we feeling hopeful?
No, that's
hopeful president.
Because I do, and people always take it the wrong way when I say it, but maybe y'all will at least that Trump is white Obama. He's Obama for white people who hated the idea of Obama. Yeah. And it's like, that to me is why I think people keep underestimating him, because I'm like, you guys aren't ready for life. Okay. You may need to cut this whole thing, who knows? But I think that there is a thing that is baked into America's understanding of the experience of a black person. So whether it's true or not, or whether it applies to every person or not, there's a story that people are told about you before they meet you as like a black American. It's like your ancestors were slaves, you have to struggle, but you always make it through, and like you had to avoid like crime and drugs and getting somebody pregnant just to be where I am right now as like a white person. So just to be my coworker, you had to overcome all this stuff. It's like every one of your stories is like an Oscar movie. That's why we keep giving you the Oscar every time it's sad, right? And now you're living in a world where there's so many cracks in that thing, not just because there are black people who are like, no, I grew up in the suburbs all my life, my dad's a doctor, but now you have white people who literally are that story, but no one tells it in that way. Okay. So they're like, okay, you know, my great-great-grandparents were these Irish immigrants, they got spit on when they came here and everything, and I have a lot of like, drugs and crime where I'm from. Like, people always make it Appalachia, but it's like, guys, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And so it's like, my family was on stamps, my family, all this stuff like that, as a white person, which is like never really talked about. And so then this person had to overcome a lot just to be next to this other white person, right? Yes. And Trump speaks to that the way that Obama spoke to black people who may or may have not been having that like stereotypical experience. Right. And that is so powerful. It feels weird to tell white people that they don't understand white people, but white people who are like the living embodiment of everything we've been told black people go through, I understand better than like white people who've always had it, if that makes sense.
It makes sense because America, more than most countries in the world, has told people what their life should be and what it could be, right? There's no other country that goes like the pursuit of happiness.
Which is an insane, like,
it's a crazy
in most cultures, they don't even believe in happiness.
Yes.
Like, if I told my dad I wanted to be, like, I told my dad that once, or with my mom, I said I want to be happy, and my mom was like, is that it?
Yeah.
It was like,
but that is
what you want for yourself?
That is a wild concept. If you said that to your parents, most African parents, like, I want to be happy, they're like, happy? Happy? Go and study something. Are you going to be successful? You know what is happy? You leave me happy. Are you married? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like what is happy is a moment.
My friend sister said, was Jesus happy?
Yeah. That is one of the wildest things I've ever heard in my entire life. That wow.
Because they could be like,
no, but
happy. She's like, was Jesus happy?
Yes. But think of it, right? Most cultures in the world will believe that happiness is a state of mind and it's a moment. You are happy. You're not like permanently in a state of happiness.
Yeah. So you shouldn't pursue it. It's like
exactly.
Pleasure. It's kind of decadent,
it is.
right?
It is. Right? But America's the only country that did that. And so in many ways, you have a country where they told you what is supposed to happen to you, what you're supposed to experience. And so if you're not experiencing that, you're butting up against it. So it's like, it's the 14-day money back guarantee. Think about how many people in America are going, but this is not what I was promised. And to your point, exactly what you're saying. Trump is going, you haven't gotten your delivery. You haven't gotten the service. You know what I mean? You're supposed to get this thing.
Yeah.
But you haven't gotten it. And then those people are standing up. And then other white people are like, why don't they just, and it's like, yeah, you say that. But these white people are going, why has it not happened for me?
And Obama did the same thing.
Yeah.
He said Americans failed on this problem. But yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
And there's another one that's going to come also.
It's like,
She's like,
the
you
dark
don't
or the
say
light.
that, but
Yes.
the pain is like just feeling numb.
yeah, but the people, whenever I say white Obama, everyone's mad. Everybody's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, and then I explain the whole thing. They're like, no, and I'm like, I understand
No,
why.
because you need, Josh, if you start with white Obama, I can see people immediately viscerally. Look, in the world of stand-up, it's brilliant as a premise, as like a concept. But obviously, most of the time, a great premise in stand-up is terrible for regular conversation.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Because imagine
That's
if
fair.
you came to somebody and you're like, yep, in many ways, he's like Muslim Jesus. You're like, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Yeah.
You can't take someone who
people love and revere,
Mm-hmm.
and then compare them immediately to somebody they hate and not expect them to be a little bit reactive.
I guess I'm surprised how much everybody hates it in that I still have friends from Louisiana who voted